Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Janna.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and on the show today, the talks between Vladimir Putin and the US negotiating team lasted more than 4 hours. And this is where both sides failed to reach a compromise while territorial disputes remain unresolved. The Russian president sent a stark message that Russia was ready for war with Europe. We're going to get you all the details on the show today. Stay tuned.
Also coming in from the US, while questions surrounding US double-tap strikes in the Caribbean continue to escalate, Secretary of War Hegseth, after rubbishing the reports, has now said that he was not watching when that second strike was ordered on the alleged drug boat in the Caribbean, while Trump has said that US is going to start doing these kind of strikes on land as well. We're going to unpack all that and more for you right here on World DNA. Let's start with the headlines.
High-stakes US-Russia talks on ending the war in Ukraine failed to yield a breakthrough, as Kremlin says no compromise has been found yet on the key question of territory.
As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean.
US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says Washington has only just begun targeting alleged drug trafficking boats, despite the backlash over the military operations, including a follow-up strike that killed 2 survivors on the 2nd of September.
They come from hell and they complain and do nothing but, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Donald Trump rages against Somali immigrants, saying they should be unwelcomed in the United States, as he highlights the long woes of the African country.
US Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem calls for expanding the travel ban to more countries, saying they are flooding US with killers and leeches, as Trump considers increasing list of restricted nations from 19 to 30.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung says that Seoul should not take sides in the Japan-China tensions over Taiwan, urging the two countries to coexist, respect each other and cooperate.
The US government delays a decision on whether to allow China to build a large new embassy in London, pushing the deadline to the 20th of January over security concerns and fears that it could be used to monitor dissidents.
Israeli military announces that it has killed 2 assailants, which it said had attacked soldiers in separate incidents in the occupied West Bank, with the Palestinian Authority identifying the deceased as 17 and 18-year-olds.
Former Honduran President Juan Hernandez released from prison in the United States, where he was serving a 45-year prison sentence for drug trafficking and firearms charges.
Adding at least 5% of bio-aviation fuel in petroleum aviation fuel. And that is to be really a futuristic great market for India.
Speaking at WION's Mission Sustainability Conclave, Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, says that green economy is the future. Asserts that automobile industry is taking great strides towards EVs.
Bitcoin jumped back to $92,000 after a brutal sell-off, but sentiment across crypto remains fragile. Traders are cautious, funding rates are negative, and extreme fear is dominating the market as investors wait for next week's Fed decision. High-stakes US-Russia talks on ending the war in Ukraine have failed to yield a breakthrough.
Well, and this as Russian President Vladimir Putin met US President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in the Kremlin. And after earlier signaling the forces were ready to achieve Russia's initial war goals. However, after the meeting, Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said that peace is not closer in Ukraine. He noted that the sides failed to reach a compromise on one of the most difficult issues, which is territorial disputes.
So far, a compromise hasn't been found. Some of the American proposals seem more or less acceptable, but they need to be discussed. Some of the wording that was proposed to us doesn't suit us. So, the work will continue.
Kushner and Witkoff were to present Putin with the new version of the US plan, which has been hammered out after the initial version raised fears in Kiev and elsewhere in Europe that it made too many concessions to Moscow.
Well, Putin has demanded that Kiev surrender territory that Moscow claims as its own. On Tuesday, Putin claimed that the eastern Ukrainian railway hub of Kupiansk has been under Moscow's troops' control for weeks now.
Now, speaking to journalists shortly before a meeting with Witkoff, Putin said that in a few days Russia would also capture Kupiansk, Veslovyi, another Ukrainian settlement south of Kupiansk along the Oskil River. Listen to this.
I think there are 2,000 buildings there. There's fighting going on there. 600 buildings, somewhere around 1,000 already. 650 are in the hands of the Russian army. We are advancing. I think we'll take that settlement too in a few days. That's another settlement.
Russian Defense Ministry has released a video. It shows troops and explosions in Zeleny High, a settlement that news agencies citing the ministry say has been captured.
Now, as Russia continues to make advances, Putin accused Ukraine's European allies of sabotaging US-led efforts to end the war that has gained momentum in recent weeks. The Russian leader accused Europe of amending peace proposals with demands that are absolutely unacceptable to Russia, quote unquote. That's what Putin said, and thus blocking the entire peace process, only to blame Russia for it. He also warned that if Europe wants war, then Russia is ready.
We're not going to have a war with Europe, I've already said. But if Europe suddenly wants to wage a war with us and starts it, we are ready right away. There can be no doubt about that.
A Ukrainian delegation could meet Witkoff and Kushner on Wednesday after their meeting with Putin in Moscow. A senior Kiev official told AFP that Ukraine does not rule the meeting out and is ready to meet them, adding that the talks could be held in Brussels, but there is no clear agreement.
Ukrainian President Zelensky said there is no simple solution to war. He repeated his country's insistence that Kiev takes part in the peace discussions and that clear security guarantees should be agreed, such as NATO membership, a move that has been long opposed by Russia.
Meanwhile, Trump said the war in Ukraine was a mess and not an easy situation to resolve, and in his final cabinet meeting in 2025.
But we're trying to get that settled. I've settled 8 wars. This would be the 9th, and our people are over in Russia right now to see if we can get it settled. Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess. It's a war that never would have happened if I were president. Not even a chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years.
And
the US strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean Sea are under scrutiny.
Well, a double tap strike on one of the boats has invited criticism, congressional inquiry and allegations of war crimes. But Secretary of War for the US, Pete Hegseth, has defended the strike, citing fog of war.
Well, reports claim that US forces launched a follow-up strike on the wreckage of a vessel that had already been hit. reportedly killing 2 survivors. And reports said that it was Hegseth who had issued a verbal order for the second strike. But the Trump administration has been trying to distance Hegseth from the decision and shift focus to the US Navy commander who directed the strike. During a cabinet meeting at the White House, Hegseth said that he did not see that there were survivors in the water when the second strike was ordered, saying that the thing was on fire.
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all.
Earlier, a Pentagon spokesperson also repeated the White House assertion that Admiral Frank Bradley, who now leads a U.S. Special Operations Command, made this decision to restrike the narco-terrorist vessel, saying that the senior Navy officer was operating under clear and long-standing authorities to ensure the boat was destroyed.
Now, Democratic senators have slammed the September 2 strikes, accusing Hegseth of passing the buck. Now, the House and Senate Armed Services Committees, both led by Republicans, have opened investigations into the strikes. Lawmakers will also have a chance to question Bradley later in the day. He is scheduled to provide a classified briefing to key lawmakers who are overseeing the military.
A family in Colombia has filed a petition with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in the U.S. Capitol, alleging that Colombian citizen Alejandro Medina was illegally killed in a U.S. airstrike on the 15th of September. The petition marks the first formal complaint over the airstrikes by the Trump administration against suspected drug boats. But despite all the hue and cry, the administration has vowed that the strikes will continue. Hegseth said the U.S. has paused the strikes for now because it's hard to find drug boats in the waters now. But strikes against drug traffickers have just begun and will continue.
Now, during the same meeting, President Trump said that countries manufacturing and selling drugs to the U.S. are subject to attack, adding that strikes wouldn't be limited to Venezuela. Trump also said that the administration is going to start doing those strikes on land as well, saying the strikes on land were much easier. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
The U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced on Tuesday during a cabinet meeting that the U.S. military has, quote, only just begun sinking narcotic trafficking vessels off the coast of Venezuela, saying that the strikes target narco-terrorists poisoning the American people. Now, his comments follow a now controversial September strike in which a boat suspected of smuggling drugs into the United States was destroyed. And according to media reports, a second follow-up attack was launched to kill 2 survivors. The move has drawn serious questions about potential violation of international law and rules of engagement as well. The administration insists that its strikes are lawful, but with lawmakers now demanding more answers and scrutiny intensifying, the incident has quickly become a major political headache for Pete Hegseth and the Department of War. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And the Afghan Taliban authorities have publicly executed a man convicted of murder.
And this is the 12th such execution since 2021 that Taliban authorities did. Well, the shooting took place in a packed stadium in Coast City, as global rights groups have condemned the punishment as inhumane and illegal.
A man identified as Mangal was executed at a stadium in Khost after being convicted of killing a man last year. The Supreme Court said his case had been examined very precisely and repeatedly.
Well, witnesses say the convict was shot 3 times by a relative of the victim, and this is in front of thousands of spectators, including local officials. Taliban notices had urged residents to attend, and crowds filled the arena on Tuesday. Authorities said the families of the victims were offered a chance at amnesty, but they refused, insisting on retaliatory punishment. Now, it is a principle which is permitted under the Taliban's interpretation of Sharia.
We came here to witness the implementation of Islamic law on a cruel man. If it is implemented well, it could prove to be positive for society. In the future, no one will dare to kill anyone in the future.
نو پراتلون کې به دغه څوک جرأت ونه کړي چې
Rights groups, including Amnesty International, say death sentences are being handed down after trials that do not meet international fair trial standards. Public executions and corporal punishments such as flogging for theft, adultery and alcohol use remain common. Public executions were widely practiced during the Taliban's rule in the late 1990s, often held in sports stadiums where everyone can come in and watch. Scenes now returning under the current regime in Afghanistan.
We at WION believe that the future of our planet is at a crucial turning point.
And at the third edition of our Mission Sustainability Summit, we were joined by the Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Shri Nitin Gadkari, who listed India's green roadmap and spoke about the future of sustainability. Listen in.
CNG, we are using it for tractor, for car, for buses, everywhere. So the green fuel is the future. At any cost, we have to reduce the pollution. And for that reason, alternative fuel and biofuel is very important. And hydrogen is the most important thing because it is the fuel for the future. So we need a charging system which can be useful from scooter, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, truck and buses. Fast charging system. That is the need. And there are a lot of options are there. I feel that politics is an instrument of socio-economic reform. And 95% I am doing social work. The power politics is different. Satta Karan. Raj Karan is not only power politics, Satta Karan. Samaj Karan, Rashtra Karan and Vikas Karan is very important. I am working in agriculture, different fields as a social worker. Why we are facing problem in Delhi? Because the population is increased. Why population is increased? Because there are no jobs in the rural sector. No sustainable development is there. If suppose the income is going to increase of the farmers and the rural agriculture area, 100% there is going to be development is there, job creation is there, no one will come to Delhi. I feel that anywhere in any society, in any country, three important things which are very important for the development, sustainable development. One is ethics, economy, ecology and environment.
Scientists have discovered a remarkable act of self-sacrifice inside ant colonies.
Well, it's one that mirrors the self-defense systems of human body. Scientists have revealed that this extraordinary survival strategy of the natural world, when new research shows that sick young ants send a please kill me signal, telling worker ants to destroy them to protect the entire colony from infection. A team led by scientists in Austria has uncovered a dramatic form of insect altruism. Terminally ill young ants known as pupae release a distinctive smell that send a clear message to worker ants: destroy me before I infect the colony.
Well, researchers found that when pupae get fatally sick inside their cocoons, their bodies produce a special chemical odor. But there is a catch here. The pupae only release the odor when worker ants are nearby, a sign that it is a conscious biological signal for self-destruction. Researchers call it an altruistic act, one that protects shared genetic survival. Worker ants quickly respond by removing the cocoon, biting holes into the pupae and inserting poison. And that toxin kills both the pathogen and the pupae, stopping any chance of a widespread outbreak within the colony.
Now, there's also an exception. Queen pupae does not send out the smell. Even when they are infected, scientists found that queen pupae have a stronger immune response, giving them a better chance of fighting off disease on their own. Well, the study, which was published in Nature Communications, opened new questions about how far even the smallest creatures will go to protect their communities, and how nature engineers complex systems of cooperation and self-sacrifice.
Well, here's a thought. What if everything you see, you touch and you feel isn't real? Tech billionaire Elon Musk says there's a pretty high probability we're all living inside a computer simulation.
Well, it sounds like science fiction, but scientists have been wrestling with this mind-bending question for decades now. Watch this fascinating story to know more.
Could life itself be a computer game? What if everything we see, feel and fear is just code? Elon Musk has once again lit the fuse on one of the strangest, most mind-bending debates of our time, the simulation hypothesis. In a candid conversation during a podcast, the tech billionaire said he increasingly feels as if we are living inside a programmed reality. Elon Musk is no stranger to futuristic ideas, but his repeated claim that life as we know it might be a simulation is turning heads again. But Musk is not alone. For decades, thinkers, scientists and philosophers have toyed with the idea that the universe might not be real in the way we assume. The modern wave began in 2003 when Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed the now famous argument: if technologically advanced civilizations can simulate consciousness, then the odds that we're living in the original base reality may be incredibly small. It's a theory that captured imaginations everywhere, from Silicon Valley to academic halls. Earlier this year, the debate leapt even further. A fresh study published in the Journal of Holography Applications in Physics claims that certain quantum behaviors could be consistent with a simulated framework. The researchers did not declare the universe a computer program, but their findings added fuel to a conversation that refuses to fade. Another earlier scientific discussion explored whether digital patterns in cosmic radiation could hint at encoded structure. From Musk, AI advancement strengthens the argument. If Earth's machines are already generating hyper-realistic worlds, then a far older, more advanced civilization could easily have done the same maybe billions of years ago. And if that's true, the universe around us might be running on rules, scripts, and boundaries we haven't even cracked yet. It's part philosophy, part physics, part science fiction made real. And tonight, Musk pushes the world to ask a question nobody can answer. If this is a simulation, then who's running it? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And with that, it's time for a short break on World DNA.
Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Russian President Vladimir Putin, he's scheduled to visit India on the 4th of December, that is tomorrow, and for the 5th of December as well, for a crucial bilateral summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A key deliverable of this high-stakes meeting is the finalization of a new agreement focused on the mobility of skilled and semi-skilled workers. We'll be bringing you the complete dynamic and what to expect in the next 2 days.
Also coming up on the other side, the Pakistani government finally buckled under pressure from the PTI, allowing Imran Khan's sister, Uzma Khanum, to meet him inside Adiyala jail. We're going to get you all the details. Stay tuned. You're watching WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. With Diksha, I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Indian Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia clarifies on mandatory Sanchar Sathi app preload amid privacy concerns and backlash. Says that users can choose not to register and can delete the app.
Vladimir Putin warns that Russia is ready for war if Europe seeks one, accusing European leaders of undermining Ukraine peace deal as US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner held high-stakes talks in Moscow for over 4 hours.
As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean.
US War Secretary Pete Hegseth says that Washington has only just begun targeting alleged drug trafficking boats, and this is despite backlash over military operations, including a follow-up strike that killed 2 survivors.
Afghan man Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, accused of shooting 2 members of the National Guard near the White House, killing one, pleads not guilty to murder charges.
They come from hell and they complain and do nothing but, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Donald Trump rages against Somali immigrants, saying they should be unwelcomed in the United States. And this is as he highlights the long woes of the African country.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung says Seoul should not take sides in the Japan-China tensions over Taiwan, urging 2 countries to coexist, respect each other and cooperate.
UK government delays a decision on whether to allow China to build a large new embassy in London, pushing the deadline to January 20th over security concerns amid fears that it could be used to monitor dissidents.
Israeli military announces that it has killed 2 assailants it said attacked soldiers in separate incidents in the occupied West Bank, with the Palestinian Authority identifying the deceased as a 17 and 18-year-old.
Politics is an instrument of socioeconomic reform, and 95% I am doing social work. By 6% it comes 10%.
Speaking at WION Sustainability Summit Conclave, Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, says that politics is an instrument of socio-economic reforms, adding that strong political will is crucial for India's growth.
Donald Trump says he'll name a new Federal Reserve chair early next year as Jerome Powell's term nears its end. He hinted his top economic advisor as the leading contender, but stressed no final decision has been made.
The Pakistani government finally buckled under pressure from the PTI, allowing Imran Khan's sister, Uzma Khanim, to meet him inside Adiala jail.
And the development, it came after 1 month of radio silence on the condition of the jailed former Prime Minister. Uzma Khanum entered the prison while scores of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf supporters who had accompanied her gathered outside the facility. After an approximately 20-minute meeting with her brother in the jail in Rawalpindi, she said Imran Khan's health is perfectly fine, but he is being subjected to mental torture and that Asim Munir is responsible for all of this.
Praise be to God, Imran Khan's health is completely fine. However, he is being mentally tortured by keeping him in complete isolation. He is not allowed to leave the cell nor to talk to anyone.
Even after multiple requests and a court order, Imran Khan was not allowed to meet anyone from the last 1 month. This prompted the PTI to stage a march to Adiala jail, demanding to see him. The Pakistani government deployed their usual playbook to stop PTI workers from entering Rawalpindi.
Now, security was stepped up outside Adiala jail and a curfew was imposed on public gatherings in the city for the next 3 days. From parliament to the streets, Imran Khan's party cornered the Pakistani government. PTI leaders staged protests inside the National Assembly demanding the release of Imran Khan.
Minister of State for the Interior, Talal Chaudhry, announced imposition of Section 144. He said it had been imposed in light of intelligence reports. He linked the matter to terrorism, saying that militants were looking for such opportunities to spread fear and make headlines.
Now, throughout the month of November, Imran's sisters, Noreen Khan, Alima Khan and Uzma Khan, were at the forefront of the protests. They demanded that the authorities allow them to meet their brother.
The Pakistani government had filed more than 200 cases against Imran Khan. In January 2025, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison over a land scandal. His wife, Bushra Bibi, was handed a 7-year jail sentence in the same case. And Imran has been convicted in at least 3 other cases, including the Toshakhana case, the state secrets case and the unlawful marriage case.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin is all set to visit India on the 4th of December.
And this is for a high-stakes bilateral summit with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And at the heart of this visit is a newly finalized agreement on the mobility of skilled and semi-skilled workers. Indian Ministry of External Affairs officials said that the document has been finalized and is going through internal processes before signing.
Economic cooperation will be a key focus during this summit. Bilateral trade has crossed $65 billion and is driven largely by India's import of discounted Russian crude.
Yet the relationship remains heavily tilted in Moscow's favor. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov acknowledged India's concerns, saying that Moscow wants to buy more from India and is looking for joint efforts to correct the imbalance.
Now, India is pushing for wider access for its marine products, pharmaceuticals, processed food, consumer goods, potatoes and pomegranates, with both sides agreeing to work towards narrowing the deficit.
Despite US President Donald Trump imposing tariffs on New Delhi for importing Russian crude oil, Peskov expressed optimism about longer-term ambitions with India.
On energy, Moscow says supplies to India remain stable despite sanctions. India reiterated that private companies make oil purchase decisions based on global market conditions. New Delhi is expanding its footprint in Russia with consulates in Kazan and soon Yekaterinburg, alongside negotiations for a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union.
During the bilateral summit between the two leaders, talks may also include an additional S-400 missile system and discussions on New Delhi's interest in the Su-57 fifth-generation fighter jet, which the Kremlin spokesperson called the best plane in the world. Civil nuclear cooperation, including compact reactor technology, is also on the table. Now, additionally, the two leaders are likely to discuss issues related to terrorism and the ongoing Ukraine conflict.
Just days ahead of Putin's arrival, Russia's State Duma approved the reciprocal exchange of logistics support pact signed earlier this year. RELOS allows military aircraft, ships and personnel from both countries to use each other's facilities for exercises, for training, humanitarian missions and disaster relief.
Vladimir Putin praised Russia's rapidly growing trade with India and said that he would continue pursuing a sovereign economic policy.
We will continue to pursue a sovereign economic policy and act externally based on our own national interests, the needs of domestic businesses and our citizens. We will fulfill our obligations to foreign partners and expand cooperation with those countries that are interested in it. As I have already said, the vast majority of countries act rationally and pragmatically. Over the past 3 years, we have significantly increased.
And separately, in a display of regional military cooperation, Pakistan and China, they launched their joint counter-terrorism exercise Warrior 9 on the 1st of December. The exercise was aimed at enhancing interoperability between the Pakistan Army and China's PLA and highlighted the deepening defense partnership between the two countries.
Well, earlier today, Pakistan accused India of hampering aid that it wanted to send to Sri Lanka.
Islamabad accused New Delhi of hindering its attempts to help the people of Sri Lanka who are in dire need after Cyclone Ditwa. India has now come out and rubbished Pakistan's claims.
Pakistan's Foreign Affairs Ministry put out this social media post in the afternoon. It claimed that it asked New Delhi for clearance to use Indian airspace, and this is so that Pakistani relief flights could fly over India to reach Sri Lanka.
India and Pakistan have mutually closed their airspace to each other, and this is in the aftermath of the heightened tensions from earlier this year in May. Now, as you know, and I would inform you, Pakistan-backed terrorists orchestrated a deadly attack in Pahalgam in April earlier this year, and India responded with Operation Sindoor in May to take out the terror hubs in Pakistan. New Delhi and Islamabad mutually closed their airspace amid the hostilities.
But India has categorically refuted Pakistan's latest assertions about the relief flight delay. India's External Affairs Ministry called Pakistan's statement ridiculous and another attempt to spread anti-India information. India went on to highlight that Pakistan raised their overflight request at around 1 p.m. on December 1st. And India gave Pakistan the go-ahead by 5:30 p.m. on the very same day, within 4.5 hours, not 48 hours as Pakistan has claimed. India added that the clearance was expedited for the benefit of the people of Sri Lanka who needed the aid urgently.
New Delhi has been helping Colombo with relief efforts under Operation Sagar Bandhu. India has airlifted hundreds of stranded people in coordination with the Sri Lankan Air Force. India has delivered dozens of tons of relief material as well. Pakistan, on the other hand, has also contributed to relief efforts in Sri Lanka. A Pakistani frigate, the PNS Saif, docked in Colombo to deliver relief supplies, and at least one Pakistani Navy helicopter has taken part in search and rescue operations as well. Both Pakistan and India have said that they are committed to helping the people of Sri Lanka. From deep space, we may have a visitor and has fired up fresh controversy. Again, new thermal gradient images of interstellar object 3I Atlas reveals jets that look shockingly organized.
And scientists ask that, is this natural physics or something far stranger? Watch the next story to know more about this cosmic mystery.
The universe just handed us another riddle, and this one is firing jets. Fresh imaging of 3I Atlas, the Manhattan-sized interstellar object slicing past our solar system, has revealed something no one expected. Structured thermal plumes firing in repeating patterns, almost as if under intentional control. The data comes from a new technique called thermal gradient imaging, capable of detecting tiny heat variations across fast-moving objects when applied to 3I Atlas. The results stunned researchers. Instead of random outgassing the kind seen in ordinary comets, the object released narrow-pulsed jets. They were evenly spaced, repeated, directional, almost engineered. Scientists are careful with their words, but they are not hiding their curiosity. 3. iAtlas already carries a reputation. Telescopes around the world are zooming on this once-in-a-lifetime space object. Astronomers have captured its unusually smooth surface, its perfect axial stability, and its refusal to behave like any comet we've ever tracked. No dust tail, no chaotic spin, no natural fragmentation. Instead, it moved with eerie uniformity as if following a flight plan. And now, these new heat maps raise the stakes again. Researchers say the jets could theoretically be natural, the result of buried volatiles venting through narrow channels. But the clean patterns, the timing, the directional force, these resemble maneuvering bursts, not geological accidents. For now, scientists stay grounded. No claims, no conclusions, just one fact. 3. iAtlas keeps behaving as if it has something to say, and the universe is listening.
Indian markets have surged to new record highs this week.
Strong corporate earnings, policy support and stronger than expected GDP growth are all supporting markets according to experts. But now the real question is, how high can Indian markets surge from here? That's what this next report decodes.
The tone of global brokerages have changed for Indian stocks after a strong October and November. Indian stocks are getting upgraded as the earnings outlook improves. Global brokerages, including Goldman Sachs, says supportive policy steps and early signs of macro stabilization are reinforcing confidence that India may finally narrow its performance gap with other emerging markets. Several factors are making India more favorable for global investors. Brokerages note that growth-supportive measures, including interest rate cuts and GST rationalization, are beginning to filter through consumption and credit. A potential rotation out of the crowded global AI trade may redirect foreign flows toward less tech-dependent markets like India. The rupee, after hitting record lows this year, is seen nearing a floor. Despite tariff shocks and weak exports, domestic demand remains resilient. India's GDP expanded 8.2% in the September quarter, and corporate profits for the top 100 companies rose 12%. Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs expect Indian markets to claw back lost ground next year as earnings stabilize and policy support strengthens. CLSA sees India as a refuge for money rotating out of North Asia once AI trade froth unwinds. Ing Bank views the rupee as having the strongest rebound potential in the region. However, Swiss bank UBS warns that Indian markets may stay range-bound. It cites rich valuations and lingering trade tensions. Overall, India remains one of the top markets to watch among global portfolio managers. While opportunities do exist, so does the risk from global sentiment. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
A new United Nations report has warned that artificial intelligence could widen the gap between rich and poor countries.
And potentially reversing decades of global progress in education, income and technology. Well, the UN Development Programme, or UNDP, has said that urgent policy action is needed to stop a global AI divide.
The report by the UNDP, titled The Next Great Divergence, says AI could create a sharp split in economic performance, skills and governance systems between developed and developing nations. The agency warned that after 50 years of countries gradually closing development gaps, AI now risks reopening those divides. And the report says that the impact is not just between countries, but also within them. Benefits are reaching big cities, large companies and high-skilled workers first, while rural communities, small businesses and people in routine jobs risk being left behind. Now, in Asia-Pacific, the UNDP report says countries face a choice: build an inclusive AI era or slide into what it calls the next great divergence, where progress happens but power and capability concentrated among those already ahead.
Now, Philip Shecken's chief economist for the UNDP's Asia-Pacific region said that AI could lead to a new era of rising inequality, and this is if poorer nations lack access to computing power, talent and investment. He also warned that even wealthier countries will feel the impact if the rest of the world falls behind, including security risks and rising undocumented migration.
Now, the report says decades of gains in living standards, healthcare and education could be rolled back unless global cooperation ensures fair access to AI benefits. The UNDP has called for international policies, funding and data sharing frameworks to stop a technological divide from turning into a development disaster.
All right, now let's shift our focus to the world of sports, where former India captain Virat Kohli is set to return to domestic cricket.
Well, Kohli, who last featured for Delhi in a Ranji Trophy game earlier this year, has informed the Delhi and Districts Cricket Association that he will be available for the upcoming Vijay Hazare Trophy.
Well, the Vijay Hazare Trophy is India's premier 50-over domestic tournament. Earlier this year, the BCCI made it mandatory for centrally contracted players to feature in domestic competitions. And since Kohli only plays ODIs, for India, the Vijay Hazare Trophy was the obvious fit for his return. Kohli, who scored his 52nd ODI century on Sunday, is currently with the Indian squad for the ongoing series against South Africa. The third and final ODI will be played on December 6th in Visakhapatnam, with the Vijay Hazare Trophy beginning on December 24th. Kohli will have enough time to rest before joining the Delhi squad. However, it's still unclear whether he will feature in all 7 of Delhi's group stage matches, which run until January 8th.
Just 3 days before India's ODI series against New Zealand begins in Vadodara, Kohli last played 50-over domestic cricket for Delhi in September of 2013 in the NKP Salve Challenger Trophy, and his last appearance in the Vijay Hazare Trophy was during the 2009-2010 season. And it was a star-studded night at London's Royal Albert Hall as the biggest names in style, they came together for the annual Fashion Awards.
The event marked the celebration of the creators, innovators and global talents shaping the industry today. Let's take a look inside one of fashion's biggest nights. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of World DNA.
And before we slip into a short break, here's a quick look at all the climate stories making headlines across the world. Stay with us. This is WION World is One. News and updates continue on the other side.